Hi, I'm Ashley Smith Thomas, a millennial talking about freedom and national security for America. I'm the founder of Freedom's Fund USA, a nonprofit to protect freedom and national security. I am a speaker, advocate, and thought leader. I spent 2016 saving Christians targeted by ISIS in the Middle East. This was truly an eye-opening and life-changing experience as I watched and learned from my fellow Christians who longed for freedom. It was that experience that became the inspiration to start this show. In this show, come with me as I interview experts about key freedom issues in America and how we can protect freedom. Because if we lose our freedom, how can we bring freedom to the whole world? Let's take action together and let freedom ring. Welcome. My name is Ashley Smith Thomas. I'm the host of Freedom Talks. The purpose of this show is to educate Americans on key freedom and national security issues that impact our nation. Last week, we had two subject matter experts talk about critical race theory. We had Hannah Smith and Cam Bryan, who are Carroll ISD school board members, as they discussed what critical race theory is and how we can take action. But today I have two very special guests with me, America's youth, as they talk about critical race theory, what they've seen in school, and how you too can take action. Today, I have with me KellyAnna Brookings, a 13-year-old who is from Seattle, Washington area, as well as Ty Mccurry, a 12-year-old from Southlake, Texas. And I'm so glad that you all will be able to know who they are and hear their story. Today, I'm going to start with KellyAnna Brookings. She is a 13-year-old outspoken conservative from the Seattle, Washington area. She has worked on several political campaigns, been a guest speaker at public events, and is Turning Point USA's youngest chapter president. KellyAnna has been on networks such as OAN to discuss critical race theory and other issues. She has her own show on Instagram where she interviews various influencers. KellyAnna wants to use her platform to help be a voice for younger conservatives and hopes to do political commentary and broadcasting when she gets older. KellyAnna, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Well, first of all, I'm really impressed that you're 13 years old and that you understand what critical race theory is and you've been outspoken about it, which is fantastic. So tell us, why are you concerned about critical race theory?
I'm concerned about critical race theory because I think that it teaches people of color that everything wrong in their life is because of their race. And it also teaches white people that everything wrong happening to their friends who are people of color is their fault. And I don't think that's fair.
That's such a good assessment. I know that you had sent over some pictures regarding the gay pride flags, BLM posters at your school, and the fact that they painted masks on your lockers. Why was that? What is that about? Can you explain that to us?
I think my school is really concerned about being woke and fitting into the liberal narrative. And I know that most of the students at my school are liberal. So the school, I think, is just trying to fit in with those students.
Have you ever been impacted by your teachers? Have they ever looked down on you for being outspoken and calling out the hypocrisy, especially as they push the Marxist agenda of critical race theory?
Definitely. My grades haven't been affected by it, but definitely the way teachers' demeanor is towards me.
So how does that make you feel, the fact that your grades have been impacted by it?
Oh, my grades have not been impacted by it yet.
Okay, well, that's good. So how, in terms of talking with your teachers, do they give you any pushback? Do they try to make you feel like you are racist because you are asking questions or pushing back to the narrative?
Oh, definitely. But I'm also very thankful to have certain teachers that do agree with me too, but they just can't be outspoken about it, which is sad.
That's good. So tell us, what would you share with the youth today pertaining to critical race theory? Why should they understand what it means?
So I think they should understand what it means, and I think that it's really sad that the school is saying that they're against racism, but then teaching the youth racism. So what I definitely recommend to the youth is to do your own research and not necessarily listen to what the teachers and the students are telling you at school about it.
That's good. So I spoke with your father, and he was sharing with me your background, what you believe, and how you got to this place that you're at now, particularly having your own Instagram channel. And so I find it very impressive that someone your age is critically thinking and assessing these situations on your own, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
What makes you interested in understanding freedom and our rights and our history, and why do you want to protect freedom here in our nation?
Yes, I want to protect our freedom because I think that schools and mainstream media and the left is constantly trying to take those freedoms away by teaching us things such as critical race theory. And I don't think that's fair to teach the youth, and not just the youth, everyone, that America is racist. And I think that we should do our own individual research instead of just believing everything that mainstream media is telling us.
That's good. And I had heard that journalists would come to the school and interview students asking if they were proud to be an American, and that students would say no. Are you concerned with the generation that students, your peers, are headed, the fact that they are anti-America? Does that concern you?
Absolutely. And I think that it's the school's fault too. I feel like it's sad that the school is teaching us that.
And so why do you think that students are anti-America? Like, do you think that they just don't understand, or do you think it's all coming from the school, what's being taught? Why do you think that is?
Well, since quarantine, a lot of people had to have time to be on their phones and Instagram and TikTok and all of these things. And there's these big influencers that are teaching us to hate America and saying that there's so much racism and there's so much problems with the police and things like that. So it's so easy for the youth to believe that because that's what everyone is telling them to.
That's so good. And just another question for you is, are you concerned where your generation is headed? And do you think that there is hope for the future?
I'm very concerned about it. That's why I'm on here. And I think that there is hope, yes. I feel like if there's more outspoken teachers and there's more outspoken parents and more outspoken students just fighting against critical race theory, I think there is definitely hope for the future.
That's so good. And my other question leading up to that is, how would you encourage other students your age to stand up against critical race theory? How would you encourage them to push back against this narrative and be bold and understanding freedom?
Definitely just do your own research instead of believing what the teachers are telling you. And when the teachers do fight back against you for your conservative beliefs, definitely just don't give up. It's going to be hard, but just don't give up and try to surround yourself with like-minded people so that way you don't feel so alone.
And then lastly for you, I love to give our viewers a call to action. So when they watch, they feel motivated and empowered to take action and do something about it. So what would you share or encourage the viewers today of how they can take action against critical race theory, but also trying to help your generation to understand freedom? What are your tips?
You can definitely take action by getting involved in Turning Point USA. That's what I'm involved in. And our hub leader is Katie Daviscourt. If you have someone that is a leader in your area, definitely reach out to them so that way you can surround yourself with people and fight back against critical race theory and other liberal ideas that the school is trying to teach us.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you so much, KellyAnna, for being here with us today. I appreciate your insight, and thank you so much for being bold and doing your part to protect freedom and speak truth and push back against critical race theory. We appreciate you, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Of course. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. And then my second guest that I have with me here in the studio is Ty Mccurry, who is a 12-year-old that is passionate about fighting critical race theory, especially when it began infiltrating his school district, South Lake Carroll ISD. He is passionate about sharing the truth of CRT and equipping other students to do the same. Tyler is currently homeschooling and in the 7th grade and loves being with his church, youth group, and playing football and baseball in his free time. Tyler, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us your story.
Well, I grew up on believing in God and conservative values and saying that all people are created equally. It doesn't matter what skin color you are, you should always treat a person based on their character and always treat someone with respect.
So in that belief system that you have and then going to school, did you go to public school before you were homeschooled?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so were you impacted by the critical race theory? Was that being taught at your school?
Yes, ma'am, it was. Yes.
So can you explain to us what was happening and how did that impact you?
Well, I left public school because my parents and I felt like that my brother and I weren't getting a good education.
You decided to be
Yes.
homeschooled just because of the shutdown of the schools and whatnot. And
Yes,
so
ma'am.
did you learn about critical race theory during that time at school?
Yes, ma'am. One of my teachers not only called me a racist, but she called me privileged. And especially remember this one lesson where she told that all white people are in debt to black people because of slavery.
So how did that make you feel?
It made me feel mad because that's not how kids act or treat each other at all. We look at someone and judge them by their character, not by their color or their skin. We look at someone and say, hey, he's nice, so I'm going to play with him, or not because of their color or their skin. And second, and it reminds me of this one story where my aunt used to run a homework center in Dallas that devoted itself to the students at DISD with their homework after school, making sure that they were fed and making sure that they were taken care of. That one Christmas at the center, I was sitting in the corner while everyone was getting presents and opening them. I wasn't supposed to receive one because I wasn't a student there, but one of these kids came up to me and gave me one of his 3. I'm fairly certain that that was the only 3 presents he had gotten that year. He didn't care that he was black or that I was white. He just wanted to make sure that I was included and that I had a sense of belonging. And a few years later, we decided to foster, which we had a lot of different kids with a lot of different backgrounds into our home, which led us to adopting my brothers that are now living with us today. Very quickly, we learned that they had came from a very troubled background, including abuse and poverty. Then we learned that they are very behind in their academics. But what I forgot to tell you is that they are white. That just goes to show you that brokenness can affect all different kinds of races, not just white, or not just blacks.
That's good. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And that is so meaningful, the fact that that's so good that for your age, you are able to see that brokenness comes in various shapes and sizes, does not matter the color of one's skin. And that's so good that for someone your age understands also not to judge people based on the color of their skin, but also on the content of their character, which is something that Martin Luther King Jr. had spoken about.
Yes, ma'am.
So the fact that you became homeschooled, what are you doing now to make an impact in sharing with others about critical race theory? Why is that so important to you?
It's important to me because critical race theory is really not what it seems to be. It's really telling you, hey, it's telling you not to be racist. That's the cover. You think you like it because they're telling you not to be racist. That's very true. You should not be racist. But what really critical race theory is about is making us divide against each other and hate each other. And what I'm doing to help that is I've been speaking up at school board meetings. My parents have as well, and even my little brother.
That is fantastic. And so I heard that you wrote an op-ed.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you tell us about that and where people can find that?
In my op-ed, I basically explain what I've been going through and how critical race theory has impacted my life, and that basically what critical race theory is not, it's a lie, and how you can basically stand up against critical race theory and put a stop to it. And I don't know where you can find it at. I don't think it has been shown to the producer, but it's in the works, yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll coordinate that and share that with our supporters.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
how does that, when you think about critical race theory and people your age, how would you encourage people your age to push back against critical race theory, especially if they're afraid to speak up?
Us kids are on the front lines. We are experiencing this firsthand. We know what is going on in the classroom day by day. What we can do to stop that is we need to document what's going on in our classrooms. Then we need to involve our parents and our administrators about what's going on so that we can fight back against critical race theory. With a couple of strong, young, educated boys and girls, there's no way we can lose this battle.
That is awesome, and that's fantastic that you're encouraging others to be bold and encouraging them to be strong, young boys and girls. So my other question for you is, in regards to people being your age and how, just like we had shared with KellyAnna and what we had heard, that many people your age are anti-America. They're saying, no, they're not proud to be an American. Do you feel like that's true, that people your age feel that way? Or do you think that there's more kids out there like you who still believe in America and are proud to be an American?
I don't think they believe that at all. I think they're being told to believe that because they're trying to say that America's found us on like systemic racism, like what Kelly was saying. I do think they are proud to be an American and very fortunate to live in this country. What was your other question? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I just was wondering if you felt like that other students, if you just felt like that it's true that they are not proud to be American, or if they are proud to be an American.
They are proud to be an American for sure. Yes, ma'am.
That's so good. Well, I actually, back in 2016, I spent some time overseas helping persecuted Christians escape ISIS.
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the things that I had heard from the refugee families constantly was freedom. They wanted to be here in America because they longed for freedom, and everything that America exudes is liberty, justice, freedom, and that's what people long for. Do you feel like kids your age really understand what freedom is, or do they not understand?
They don't really understand because they don't take the time to think and be grateful for what they are given. Because freedom is what America is, basically. You have the right to praise whatever you want to praise. You have the right to free speech. So I don't think most kids take the time to be grateful for what freedom actually is.
Do you feel like critical race theory is suppressing our First Amendment right, which is the freedom of speech, thought, and expression and worship? Are you concerned that critical race theory is removing the First Amendment right, particularly of speech and thought?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And why are you concerned?
I'm concerned because critical race theory is basically a lie, like I've been saying, and that people are saying that all white people or any color are racist, not just everyone can be racist, not just white people, or everyone is racist, not just whites.
And do you feel like they're at school, and I know that you're homeschooled now, but do you feel like at any point you would go back to public school, or are you in homeschool for the long haul?
If it gets better, yes, I will definitely consider I will going back to school, but it's going to take a long, hard fight to get rid of critical race theory so we can return back to normal for all.
That's so good. Well, I'm amazed that someone your age is so articulate and talking about critical race theory. So like how I asked KellyAnna, I love asking people, particularly a call to action. When we bring guests on our show, we like to ask them to provide call to action so our viewers can take action and make a difference. So what are some steps and call to action that you would give our viewers?
Like I said before, it's going to take young, educated boys and girls to fight critical race theory because we are experiencing this on the front lines. We know what it's like to be in the classroom and experience critical race theory. It's just, if we stand up to critical race theory and be courageous enough to speak up at school board meetings, tell your mom and dad or your administrators, then we can finally put a stop to critical race theory. And I know it's going to be hard, but with a few young boys and girls, we can put a stop, and there's no way we can lose this battle.
That's so good. Well, thank you so much, Ty, for being here
Thank
today.
you.
Greatly appreciate it. And so just in closing, I just want to congratulate KellyAnna and Ty for being so vocal in terms of pushing back against critical race theory. It should give us all hope, the fact that there's still youth here in America that love America and that understand what freedom is. But more importantly, what we need to do as a society is encourage the younger generation to stand up and be bold. There's a scripture that talks about that the righteous are as bold as a lion. So may we be bold as lions to speak truth, just like Ty and just like KellyAnna. And may we not only be bold to speak truth, but may we not be afraid to speak truth, even when it's not popular. Because together we will stand for righteousness, speak truth, and protect freedom. Thank you, and God bless.